So this study was looking at a population of people, and they tracked them over a few years, and they looked at their amount of sleep and then whether or not they were at risk of developing two or more chronic illnesses. And they found that people who got less than 5 hours sleep were at more risk of having two or more chronic illnesses. So this is showing that if people are obtaining less than 5 hours sleep, particularly probably on a regular basis, then they're at a higher risk of developing chronic long-term illnesses, which then obviously has a greater impact on overall health and well-being.
And so is that multimorbidity if you have more than two chronic illnesses?
Yes, it's what they classify as multimorbidity, is if you have two or more. It's supporting what we already really knew about a lot of sleep. So there's been other studies that have looked at sleep duration and whether or not people are at high risk of of dying, and they found that if people have reduced sleep duration, they're at a greater risk of dying, which sounds very negative, I know. And then if people have longer sleep, they're also at a greater risk of passing away, which is really highlighting the importance of having good amount of sleep.
I know you weren't a part of this study, but how robust are the findings? It followed 7,000 people in the UK for more than 30 years.
Yeah, so the study was done really well. They looked at a large population and they looked at it over a long period of time, which is really great to see. I guess the caveats would be is that they looked at people who were aged 50 and above. And the argument could be that potentially in some of those individuals, before they get to age 50, they may have already started to develop chronic illnesses. And so it's unclear as to whether or not the sleep obtained older than 50 was influencing the development of those chronic diseases or worsening them perhaps, versus actually causing it. We certainly do know though that if people have sleep restriction or sort of less than 5 hours or 6 hours, then they certainly are at a higher risk of developing chronic illnesses anyway.
People get really anxious, don't they, about this issue? What is the advice on how much sleep we should get?
Yeah, so adults should be aiming to get between 7 and 8 or 7 and 9 hours of sleep. I guess the thing that people need to remember is that sleep is a natural process, and the more we think about it, the harder it becomes. And if you do feel like you're not getting a lot of sleep on a regular basis, try not to worry about it too much. Usually 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep, or even if it's over a few years, isn't going to have a massive impact on you as long as you can recognize that and try and resolve your sleeping patterns later on. So, if you've had young kids and you've found that you haven't been able to sleep very well because you have young kids, when your children are older and they're able to sleep better on their own, then you might find that you're also able to sort of catch up a little bit of your sleep as well. So maybe looking at what you've done in the past and trying to rectify that now, or not worry about it too much now.
Do we need to talk about sleep more holistically and also talk about diet and exercise being critical to staving off chronic illness?
For sure. Sleep is really the third pillar of a healthy lifestyle, and a lot of the times it gets left off. And I think it's really important that government bodies see that sleep is and recognize sleep as a really important pivotal part of overall holistic health, not just our physical health, but also our mental health as well. And if we recognize that and people work to improve their sleep as much as their diet and making sure that they're exercising regularly, then they are going to have a healthier lifestyle.